Welcome to Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network from Chicago. We are in Wrigleyville. That, just in case you couldn't tell, is Wrigleyville. And here's the good news. Sky's with us now. Sky, come here, buddy. Sky is now back. Sky, welcome back. We have missed you, sir.
No, I've missed you, Nick.
I can't quit you, Sky. But you know who I got to quit, unfortunately? Come here, Smokey. We are going to miss Rob. This is Rob's last day on tour. He's not happy about it. Rob, you've been a great fill-in, but I got Sky now, so you can go home.
Sure. Where do I get my check?
I told you, at Razzball, we get paid in Fruit Loops. Stand a little bit over there. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit of news that's going on today. It was cut day in the NFL today, so lots of cuts, obviously. Rams cut Michael Sam. It's only interesting because he's a news story. Do you think he's going to catch on anywhere else? I've already heard rumors that the Patriots are looking at him.
You know, it's very much a possibility, but they were already talking about it coming into the draft, that he was going to be a draft day hopeful if he ended up landing with the team and actually being successful and staying on. So I don't think there's a huge amount of hope. The draft said the talent wasn't there to be at this level, and I still think it's going to be the same way.
Okay, now also in the news today, the Eagles made it known that they're open to trading Matt Barkley, the third-string quarterback. Of course, was a star, kind of a star at USC. Actually, he was a guy who was really hyped up in college. There was talk a couple years ago it might be the first overall pick in the draft. Obviously, that didn't materialize, nor has his NFL career. Is there a chance, though, let's just say the Rams, who are looking at quarterbacks, we'll get to someone else they're looking at in a second. Is there a chance that the Rams could actually go after Barkley? And if so, whether it's the Rams or someone else, what's his upside, if any?
I mean, there is some minimal upside there. I mean, he's not an awful quarterback. He showed in the preseason that he's got some talent. I just don't see the Rams doing anything right now. I think they're going to wait and let his value fall because, people have been watching him, so his value is pretty much at where it should be right now. It's probably his highest. I just don't see the Rams doing anything until desperation actually shows itself and they don't have a serviceable or non-injured quarterback on the roster.
Because that defense can be pretty good. I mean, the reason Michael Sam got cut was because, that's a very good defense. A lot of people are I was saying they were a sleeper defense, but a lot of people are picking them quite high. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. They are, however, talking to Terrell Pryor, who got cut by the Seahawks. Now, Pryor wasn't a very good pro quarterback, but he was an interesting fantasy quarterback, which I think could make him really relevant, especially if he went to St. Louis with some of the offensive weapons there. How could that play out if they did sign him potentially?
That'd be a very dynamic shift in their offensive scheme, especially with all the wide receiver help that they have now, especially with Kenny Britt there. We're no longer looking at.
Yeah, but Kenny Britt has sucked this preseason. Everyone was Kenny Britt late round sleeper. He hasn't been good.
All I can say is it's still preseason. Preseason doesn't mean anything. Real season does. And he's still being put up there as one of their top wide receivers. That said, if Pryor does come in, that does change the focus of the offense a lot. I think we're already going to see a lot more Zach Stacy than we were when Sam Bradford went down. But if that happens, Stacy's actually going to have a better run game. And actually it would be successful for Pryor as well because he has a solidified running back there rather than a broken down Darren McFadden like he had last year.
Are we going to see any Benny Cunningham in that situation? Because Trey Mason didn't have a very good camp. At least he didn't look great in the games. I was a little bit bullish on him. I thought he could be interesting because he was the SEC Player of the Year. But Benny Cunningham, because remember, too, last year before Zach Stacy took the ball and ran with it, literally, it was the talk was Stacy or Cunningham, Stacy or Cunningham. Any value for Cunningham potentially?
The coaching staff loves Cunningham because he's great at blitz pickup and he's great in those alternate, pat schemes, they do the schemes. Sorry, they do schemes that are different than normal when they have Zach Stacy on the field. And I think that he probably brings a different dimension to the Rams' offense. As when Stacy's on the field, it's more of like a run, maybe a screen dump off. Where Benny Cunningham could probably maybe even give you a stretch circle route or something down the field.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you? Think Benny? What are the odds? Give me a statistical percentage here. I don't know, statistical percentage. I don't even know if that makes sense. What's the percentage that Zach Stacy is the starting running back for all 16 games this year?
Given what he was able to do with very mediocre support from the quarterback, Kellen Clemens, I believe. I'm actually forgetting who the quarterback was because he was so forgettable. Given what he was able to do, knowing that every single team was going to be stacking the box against him last year, I have a hard time seeing the Rams not give him a shot at being the All-16. That doesn't mean Benny Cunningham can't get touches. I do think that they're going to be smart about it and reduce the amount of touches that he has because they will rely on Benny Cunningham more.
Is he rosterable?
He's rosterable in deeper leagues where maybe you feel like you need to handcuff, but I probably wouldn't be rostering him in a standard 12.
Okay, fair enough. The Chargers cut Vincent Brown today, which is only interesting because this guy, even last year, was being touted in keeper and dynasty leagues as an interesting long-term play. What happened there?
I think that Malcolm Floyd probably came into camp and showed that he's healthy. And they also have Ladarius Green and Antonio Gates, which are two viable options there. I think they're probably going to be running a lot more two tight end sets there with Floyd on one side, Allen on the other. They have those three running, like a three-headed monster running back, and I think they're going to probably open up the scheme to probably two wide receivers, two tight ends, maybe a running back out of the backfield that'll probably alternate depending on the scheme.
Ladarius Green was a darling coming into the preseason, a lot of hype around him. They didn't really use him much in the games that they actually played. Now, of course, you're not going to reveal everything you're going to do, but there was a couple games where he played a lot and he had a couple targets. Is he actually going to play this year?
2 words: secret weapon. No, everyone knows Ladarius Green is coming in that offense. He's going to be a large part of it
Because he's large.
Yeah, well, there's that. But the big thing is he's going to be a great red zone target for him. We all know that Phillip Rivers still loves Antonio Gates, but like he said, two tight end sets are definitely going to be the future there, and the running back machine there with all three of them getting involved. Ladarius Green is still going to be involved in this passing attack, and I think he'll probably start coming around week 4 or 5. You won't see it straight away, but you definitely want to get in on it.
Do you think that Ladarius Green's going to get touches this year, Smoke?
Yeah, but I think it's probably after they see enough from Gates to know that he's probably not a viable option anymore, because he's basically the middle, stretch down the middle of the field, pull a safety in. Once they realize that he can't do that anymore, I think Green's going to step right in and just assume that role, and they'll probably bring Gates in as probably more of a blocking, short dump-off option.
Okay. Now, you always want to remember, guys, lock up your league fees for free at sportsvault.net. There's absolutely no fees to do that. Let someone else deal with the headache. They send out the emails, they collect the money, and they give it all back to you. Just set up how you want it distributed. Also, we're going to be playing a lot of daily fantasy football, of course, at DraftKings.com this year. Enter promo code Razzball when signing up. Hey, on our way into town today, because we picked you up at O'Hare, thank goodness you're back, although I am going to miss Smokey. We went for an Italian beef sandwich. Was it good? Did you like the Italian beef wet with peppers?
That was, you're just bringing me back now, Nick. You got to get me off camera now.
Because you like to eat. I learned that when you were with me in Seattle. You like to eat, man. You were going nuts over that at Bona.
Don't let this wiry frame fool you. I can consume.
He's going to eat. He's going to eat defenses. He's going to eat catches. He's going to eat. All right, little T-hole reference there. All right, guys. This is Razzball Radio on the Fantasy Sports Network. We're going to be back right after this. We got more fantasy news coming up. We're here, Wrigley, Chicago. We're going to go to Theory Bar, have our draft after. We'll be right back after this with more fantasy football news.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on ArrangementFinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on ArrangementFinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome back, Razzball Radio. Nick Capozzi with Sky and Smokey at Wrigley in Chicago, in Wrigleyville on Addison Avenue. Is that Addison Avenue? I don't know. Someone's going to correct me. Anyone know?
I think it's Addison.
Just Addison?
It might be Addison Russell Avenue here eventually. Fantasy baseball reference, sorry.
Or Addison Reed. There you go. Well, he plays for no, he doesn't play for the Southsiders anymore. All right, let's stick to football. Okay, it was cut day again in the NFL today, so lots going on. Interesting what happened because last week the Philadelphia Eagles went and traded a draft pick to get Kenyon Barner from the Carolina Panthers, and then they go and cut him. They also cut Matt Tucker, which really surprised me because Chris Polk has a rough, a hammy. It's not quite Miles Austin level hammy, but let's just play this scenario out with me, okay? Chris Polk is not 100%. And something happens to LaShawn McCoy. Don't yell at me. I'm just saying, what if something did happen potentially? Sproles can't carry the ball. What are they going to do? Throw the ball 70% of the time?
That's a tough question. They're definitely a run-first team. That's something that's a very Chip Kelly laden offense. Is as much as people talk about how explosive the offense can be in the air, it is a run-first team, and that's a little scary with LaShawn McCoy not having a viable backup at this point. I do have to think they're going to have to make some move here before the preseason stops that solidifies that backfield and gives him a little bit more support. This doesn't make any sense right now.
You heard a name today that maybe the Eagles are potentially talking to.
Yeah, I mean, just on the list of guys that were cut, I mean, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, Daniel Thomas, Even I think that the obvious choice for me is a guy from the Redskins, just like a Lachey Seastrunk. I think that he probably fits the scheme that they're probably looking for. He kind of is in the mold of a LaShawn McCoy. He could probably do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. He's not the dynamic runner that McCoy is, but he's enough of a running back that they could probably put him in there if and when Polk isn't available.
And speaking of cuts today, again, the law firm Ben Jarvis Green Ellis did get cut by the Bengals. Where do you see him potentially landing? You think he waits a couple weeks, or what's the deal there?
You know, the problem with Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is that he is the perfect example of average running back. And that's neither good nor bad. He could fit the mold of any team's secondary running back. For some teams, he could even be an RB1, all depending on their needs. But he also doesn't do anything spectacular. There's a lot of teams that could use a guy like him, but it's going to come down to what team is healthy coming into the preseason, what team is not. So whichever team is banged up the most and needs the most help is probably where he's going to end up going. And it would probably be smart, if I were him, to wait until that team needs him rather than trying to seek it out and get stuck behind a second or third running back.
Okay, congratulations, Smokey. You've just been named Ben Jarvis Green Ellis's agent. What are you going to do there? Are you going to wait a couple games?
Yeah, I'm definitely waiting for an injury or probably a situation that makes it like self-obvious where he's probably going to be involved in the offense like he probably should be, which he probably isn't. He's a plodding runner right now. He basically is a 3 to 4 yard per rush guy. He's not going to overwhelm anybody, but he does have excellent goal line experience. So for a team with a veteran or a rookie running back that might want a veteran presence coming off the bench to take over the goal line duties, he could step in there. I don't see anything obvious right now, but I would think that once an injury happens, that he's probably definitely going to be one of the first names that gets signed.
All right, one of the worst teams this preseason has been the Buffalo Bills. You know, we've talked a lot that you used to like E.J. Manuel. I'm not saying I'm completely off, the one-man bandwagon that it was, apparently. I still think there's some upside there. But they signed Kyle Orton today, which was really – well, no, but here's why it's interesting. Smokey brought this up. If you're playing in a dynasty league where you get a whole team to manage, you'd like the Bills. There's a lot of upside players there. You got Watkins, Spiller, Fred Jackson still viable. You got Bryce Brown, who's interesting. Might be the running back who's starting for the Bills next year. If Kyle Orton is dropped into that and kind of manages the game, that offense might actually be better.
By the way, I wasn't laughing at Kyle Orton. I was laughing at E.J. Manuel. He's you might have been the one-man bandwagon for him. He's the one-check quarterback. That's his problem. He doesn't see the field well, and that's what's been reducing the value of a lot of those wide receivers there. No, I'm all on board for a veteran quarterback coming in there, managing the game, and making sure that the right people get the right touches. Orton's been effective in his career, and he's had a couple of great seasons, and it was right before Tim Tebow ended up taking over in Denver. He actually had a really good year, and I think a lot of people forget that. He's a solid NFL quarterback. Fantasy, probably a QB2, maybe mid-range. But I'd definitely be happy if he ended up taking over for him. And I could see that happening easily within the first couple of weeks if this keeps up.
Right. Now, last week, obviously, Darnell Dockett lost for the season, ripped up his knee. They lost Darrell Washington suspension. So you and I have seen the Arizona defense, which was going sometimes the second defense off the board in these drafts, plummet. But you know what? Chris Collinsworth brought up a good point the other night. They might have the best secondary in football. You still liking the Cardinals D?
I still like him. They brought in a couple veterans. One is Tommy Kelly. They're basically just plug gappers for Darnell Dockett, but they still have enough talent on that roster, and especially with Mathieu coming back, the Honey Badger, he's going to solidify the back end of that defense, and I think that they're still going to be able to get to the quarterback enough to take the pressure off their excellent secondary. So, they're still probably a top 10 defense. They're not like a top 5 for me, but they're probably still a top 10.
All right, Bernard Pierce back from the concussion, obviously going to get the first 2 starts. People are getting higher and higher on Ray Rice. Smokey and I have had multiple discussions about how good Bernard Pierce is. I kind of like him. Smokey doesn't. What's your take on Bernard Pierce? Is there any chance he could maybe, and he's got 2 tough opponents to start, but is there any chance he could maybe not run away with the job, but maybe run away with a larger portion of the job after the first 2 games?
That's a really tough call. Given the fact that he's being given the opportunity 9 times out of 10 in the NFL, especially at running back, opportunity wins out more often than talent does.
Good point.
So if he takes it and he runs with it the first 2 weeks, especially like you said, if they're tough opponents and he goes off or if he goes really tough and hard for 80 to 100 yards in each game, that's a bonus to him. Ray Rice proved last year that he's not necessarily the guy there, or he can't always necessarily be the guy there. My main concern with Ray Rice is it's the motivation factor. He's had, let's just call it an embarrassing offseason. He's got a lot to prove, and he's going to want to do a lot with those 14 games. So Bernard Pierce is going to have to come out strong in order to keep Ray Rice off the field.
What did we teach Sky today about ketchup in Chicago?
You don't put ketchup on hot dogs.
Yeah, I mean, that's a rule here. So you learned about the beef today. It's your first time in Chicago. You don't put ketchup on the hot dog. I don't want to get into trouble, man. I mean, this is a cool city. We're in a great neighborhood. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't want trouble because you're trying to put ketchup on hot dogs. You got that? You with me?
I appreciate it. Just keep me out of jail, and you're obviously doing that. So,
No guarantees. Smokey, I'm really going to miss you, buddy. Come here. Mwah. I love you, buddy. No, it's been great. Okay, the show's not done yet, though. We're going to go down to Theory Bar. They have a private draft room set up for us, and we've got a local fixture coming in. We're going to get a Chicago Bears team preview here. Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network, back right after this from Chicago.
I was never one for traditional dating, which is why I like to meet guys on ArrangementFinders.com. Arrangement Finders puts a twist on dating that works so well, they guarantee you'll find a girl. That's right, guarantee. Sounds too good to be true? Check out these girls on ArrangementFinders.com who are looking to date. She's hot. She's hot. Okay, her, not so much. Anyway, it's free to join. Go to Arrangement Finders and meet girls like me who know what you really want.
Welcome to Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network. We are on the streets of Chicago. There's lots of Hawkeyes fans around here. I'm here with my man, Ryan Neiman. Ryan, welcome to Razzball.
Thanks for having me today.
All right, we are at the Theory Bar in Chicago, which is actually, funny enough, an Iowa Hawkeyes bar. We didn't set that up. It just kind of worked out that way. But Theory Bar, the reason we came here, they got this private draft room in the back. It is epic. This is actually one of the coolest. How you doing, man?
Yeah, let's go Hawks.
All right, okay. All right, thanks, buddy. All right, we're going to keep trying to film the show talking about the Chicago Bears right now. This is awesome. This is what I love about Chicago. Okay, Ryan, we're going to go through the positions real quick. Quarterback right off the top, Jay Cutler. This guy is falling in drafts. He has to, if he stays healthy, he almost has to, by default, have a good season. How do you see him quarterback in this team this year?
Oh, the potential is there. He was best completion underneath Mark Trestman. His numbers were up underneath that offense with Mark Trestman. So the potential is there. He could be a steal late in drafts. He has those weapons. Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, Matt Forte, Martellus Bennett. So the potential is there. And he could be a steal late in the drafts.
I'm thinking if he stays healthy, 4,400 yards, 35 touchdowns. You with me on that?
Definitely. If he stayed healthy last year, he would have been a top 15 quarterback. And I think even more, he could be a 4,000 passing yard quarterback this season.
Love it. Brandon Marshall has been one of the most consistent pass catchers in the NFL. Alshon Jeffrey had a huge breakout season last year for the Bears. Also, Santonio Holmes in the mix. How do you see this position group breaking down? Is this going to be an 80, 90 catch season for Marshall and Jeffrey, and then there's some leftovers? Or is there a chance that, because they were talking that Holmes might get in the mix here, how do you see that shaking out?
You know what? I highly doubt that Holmes is going to make a huge difference at all in fantasy. You want to stay away from him. He's a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 at best in fantasy.
At best.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall, he's going to be a stud regardless. He's a PPR machine. You got to go after him no matter what. Even though Alshon Jeffrey, he's there. He's going to get about 80, 90 receptions as well. But Marshall is the man you really want to target for the Bears.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Alshon Jeffrey obviously had the big breakout year last year. Can he replicate it, or our defense is going to be keying on him and kind of squashing his potential?
No, there are so many weapons there. They have Forte, Bennett to really secure that security blanket for Alshon Jeffrey. He's the one thing I have for Jeffrey, third-year wide receivers, they have breakout years. And this is his third year in the NFL, and he's going to break out even more. And that's how excited they are for Alshon Jeffrey. You got the ambulances.
You know what's great about Chicago? This city is so vibrant, it's so alive. This is a wicked city. We got the whole crew here with us today. A lot of people, because of course Sky is back. Well, you guys saw the show. You guys know what's going on. Okay, running backs. Matt Forte has been one of the most consistent running backs in the league. You were talking about PPR monsters. Matt Forte is a PPR monster. But eventually, I mean, this guy's touched the ball a lot. Does he have another big season in him? Because Sky said something crazy earlier saying that this guy could be the number 1 running back this year.
You know what? I took him in my first pick in my draft because I'm fully confident. Outside of being a Chicagoan, Forte, second in the league in scrimmage yards last season, behind Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson since 2008, third in scrimmage yards for Matt Forte. And I think he could break out with Mark Trestman as a quarterback as his coach right now. So I don't think he's going to have a regression at all.
Do you think, though, that teams are going to be able to key in on what's happening here? I mean, Trestman had such a great year last year. Sorry, we're dodging fire trucks and cop cars here. Such a great year last year with what this offense did. Are teams going to key in? I mean, they tried to and weren't successful, but do you think with an off season they can try and cap the ceiling on this offense?
Well, always defenses are looking to ways to stop offenses. But Trestman, second year in the league, he's going to find the kinks of get through those problems of opposing defenses. He'll find a way to find Marshall, get the ball, Forte, get the ball, and I think he'll have no problem in his second year.
All right, man, you sound like the most Chicago guy I've spoken to so far. Can you say the Bears?
The Bears. You got to replace the with the, no matter what.
The Bears. Hey, you know what? We did some Chicago stuff today. We had Italian beef, wet, and then we taught Sky that, don't even ask for ketchup in Chicago. That right?
Yep. If you it has to be mustard, no ketchup, otherwise you'll be thrown in the street where we're at right now and get hit by a bus. Ambulance will be coming for you right now.
They're serious here. Okay, who's the handcuff for Matt Forte? Kadeem Carey was interesting coming into the year. Had a great season, a great career actually at Arizona. But there's talk that he might not be the handcuff. How do you see that shaking out?
Jordan Lynch was released too by the Bears today. There's really no handcuff there. They have Drone as a backup right now for the Bears, but really there's nobody you want for Forte as a backup. He's not going to be doing anything in fantasy football-wise, so there's really nothing to worry about for Forte and his backup.
Unless Forte, blows out a knee. I shouldn't say that. I jinx Matt Forte. Okay, tight end. Martellus Bennett obviously got into a little bit of trouble in camp. Zach Miller looked kind of impressive. I don't know if there's going to be much of a role for him, but I think Martellus Bennett could be primed for a big year, especially again, because defense are going to be keen on the wide receivers. Could be the Martell Bennett show. Well, maybe not show, but I think Martell Bennett could have a great year.
Yeah, Martellus Bennett, the unicorn, black unicorn is what they call him. He had a breakout.
I'm just not going to ask.
He had a breakout season underneath Trestman, career years in receptions and yards. He's going to continue to improve underneath Trestman. And Zach Miller, I don't think he's going to take anything away. Sure, Bennett had that fight in training camp, but he's their man to go to.
Is this defense going to be fantasy relevant this year?
You know what? They don't have any corners. They improved on their defensive ends, but still, they don't have cornerbacks. So you got to worry about against passing. And if the NFC North is all about, so with Stafford, Rodgers, it's all about passing, and I wouldn't trust them in defense for fantasy football.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Ryan, where can people find you on Twitter?
I am over there at S District Radio, and catch me over there on Sports Talk Florida as well.
Sports Talk Florida, and also you do some writing?
Sometimes do some writing here for Chicago. Not about all the shootings that are happening there.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Okay. No. Okay, my sugar daddy of the day brought to you by ArrangementFinders.com. The Chicago Bear that I think is going to grossly outperform their ADP this year is actually going to be Martellus Bennett. I think Bennett is going to wind up being the guy if he can catch the ball, which I think he will. Apparently he's in camp in really good shape. So other than the little incident to start, Martellus Bennett could be the guy here that grossly outperforms his ADP. I picked him up in a bunch of leagues. Okay, we are in Chicago. Do you ever call it Chi-Town, or is that just the media?
Nope. Everyone, if you're from out of town, you'll hear a lot of ambulances, but if you're from out of town, we know that you're out of town when you say Chi-City, so we only call it Chicago.
Chicago. All right, so we are going to go into Theory Bar. It's a Hawkeye bar. Shout out to my man Greg, who's been providing the soundtrack on Twitter every morning to the show. He's a Hawkeye, so Greg, there you go, buddy. We're going to go inside and draft. We got some pros in here, and then we are heading up to Wisconsin, going to Green Bay, going to eat some fried cheese curds, going to shoot a show at the Stadium View Bar right next to Lambeau. I am jacked up for that, but first, we're going to have a good time in Chicago. This is Razzball Radio, Fantasy Sports Network. See you tomorrow from Wisconsin. Cheese curds!